good afternoon, good day, wherever you're at. My name's Otis Toussaint, and I'm coming to you from Falls Church, Virginia. Well, really Woodbridge, but I'm here in the DC area, and I am with Army Medicine. Army Medicine. And what are we doing today? Today is our newest episode of My Army Medicine Story, where I sit with Captain Holly Weaver, and let me go ahead and add my co-host right now. Oh, there she goes right there. Hey.
Hey.
And thankful that we have another episode today that we could come and talk to a Captain Andre Brown. I'm looking forward to today's discussion, and I hope that you enjoy today's discussion as well. Every viewer that's out there as well.
Yes, happy Friday, everyone that is tuning in today. We are so excited and just happy you're here today as we cruise on into the weekend. Hopefully this week's weather, going into the weekend is a lot better than it was, about a week ago across the nation. So fingers crossed for that. Today we are continuing our celebration of AfricanAmerican History Month, and we are interviewing Captain Andre Brown today, and I am so excited because I call Captain Brown a friend, and he was a former colleague who I actually took over his position for, and we'll get into that more later. But we are excited to just share his story and for him to talk to us about all the awesome things that he's done and just his background in history.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and cue the intro and get into it. Welcome to My Army Medicine Story, where two wonderful one prior officer, one current officer, we just kind of talk to folks and get to know who they are as people. Typically, you tend to think of an Army officer that they're robotic, they're not human, they're not a person under their uniform. They're definitely a person. So I am looking forward to today's discussion. And without further ado, I guess before we even get into talking to Captain Brown, do you want to talk a little bit about the recruiting side of time? Because, with every aspect of military presentation, military information, there's always a recruiting aspect to that. And let me go ahead and pull that slide up for you, the eligibility requirements that's needed to become an Army nurse. So let's go ahead and share that with you right now. And here we go in 3, 2, 1, go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Otis. So, just to quickly go over the base eligibility requirements to be an Army nurse, because we are here to share the stories of Army medicine to hopefully inspire, medical professionals out there that might want to serve in the Army and Army Reserve to come on down and get a full-time or part-time opportunity here with us in Army medicine. So you have to be between 21 and 42 years of age. Some special circumstances will take up to 48, potentially CRNAs, or if you were a prior serving officer, it's by case. But if you don't meet those general age requirements and, you still want to serve in Army medicine, check out USA Jobs and see what kind of opportunities you could have as a Department of Defense civilian, because you can still serve our nation as a healthcare provider or nurse. Even if you're beyond the age requirement. So, just don't preclude yourself from serving as a civilian as well. You must be a United States citizen for active duty, but you can have your green card for the reserve. You need to have a BSN with a preferred GPA of 3.0, but if you have a little bit less, that's not going to preclude you from applying. So go ahead and just contact me if you're interested. You do need to have experienced, specialized, either, in ICU or ER or OR. We need to have BLS as well as ACLS for ER, ICU, and CRNA applicants. The nurse practitioner and CRNA applicants must be board certified, and all slots are highly competitive. A lot of our Nurse Corps AOCs have closed, and AOCs are our area of concentration. A lot of those have closed out for this fiscal year, but go ahead and reach out. I can point you in the right direction, and you would want to be starting the application process around late spring, early summer for the fall when more slots will open. So that these are just the base requirements for Nurse Corps. We're also looking for physicians, surgeons, many other different specialties. So if you're a medical professional and are interested, reach out and we'll see what we can do for you. And that's all I'll cover here. But just what it comes down to, if you are a medical professional and you want to know more, reach out. You can text me, you can call, you can email, or you can even send me a message on Instagram. And if I don't know the answer, I'll get you pointed in the right direction.
Excellent, excellent. So I guess without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, I see him smiling in the back, in the broadcast room in the background. Let's go ahead and add him on to the discussion. Captain Andre Brown. What's going on, Captain Brown?
How you guys doing? I don't know anything about a myth or a legend, but I'm here.
Well, I say those things because I want to make you relax in our discussion podcast. This is something that, that's celebrated by myself and Captain Weaver. We have a good time in talking with the individuals that come and talk with us, and we want to lessen the anxiety. We want you to let your hair down and just come and talk to us about, essentially what you do in the military, your military timeline, the things that you've done, the things that you've admired, people that had a positive impact on you, lessons that you've learned. We'll go over all those different things within the hour that we talk today. And, first things first, I want to get started off with you is, kind of tell us a little bit about your background, where you come from, and essentially tell us about your school that you went to and what do you do right now as an Army nurse?
Okay. Well, it all started about 23 and a half years ago, San Diego, California, where a recruiter asked me, it's like, hey, you want to join the Army? It's like, you know what? Sure, I'll join. And came in as a private E1, 91 Bravo combat medic, and we went through a couple of transitions to 91 whiskey, 68 whiskey. I think there's still 68 whiskeys right now. I was actually gonna get out of the Army after my first 4 years, and I was at JRTC doing a rotation down there, and I heard somebody ask, like, hey, we need a medic to go to Kosovo. And I was like, I don't know where Kosovo is, but I'll go. And I ended up extending a little bit of time for that. Had a great time in Kosovo, peacekeeping mission, going into mountains that, people haven't been to in years, and just helping people out there. And when I came back, I decided, maybe I could stay in the Army a little bit longer. September 11th happened while I was in Kosovo. And, that's when all the deployments started. So got stationed at Fort Hood. Well, actually, I went to Iraq with Fort Campbell with the 101st. I'll just patch somewhere right now. And then, came home, peace at Fort Hood, went back to Iraq for 2 more tours, and decided, I got to get out of this rotation. I just had a brand new son. They stationed me at Fort Sam, where I ended up being a platoon sergeant in Delta 187. Made the E7 list on the first look, less than 10 years in the Army. And I worked as a platoon sergeant down there. And somehow I ended up working for the U.S. Army Graduate Program Anesthesia Nursing. Somehow the program director, Colonel Tomas Saramuga, he made some kind of drug deal with my commander, and I ended up being a platoon sergeant and an NCOIC for them. And he asked me, what do you want to do in the Army? And I was like, well, I think I'm gonna go to PA school. That seemed to be the route that most medics took. And he asked me, he was like, well, what about being a nurse? I was like, I don't know anything about nursing. He was like, yeah, we have a couple students here that did the AECP, the Army Enlisted Commissioning Program. So why don't you go talk to them? So I went and talked to a couple people, and I was like, sounds like a good idea. Let me go ahead. I'll put in a packet for both. But I only ended up putting in a packet for the AECP, and I was accepted. Then from there, 2 years of school, nursing school at Wayland Baptist University in San Antonio. Got my bachelor's degree in August of 2011, commissioned in January 2012. That's where I got stationed at Walter Reed on 4 West on the VIP floor. Colonel Wanda Horton, I just another one of those things. My whole CNTP class, we were just sitting in the office waiting to talk to HRC, and she walked in and asked us, where she needed to go. Nobody spoke up, so I just said, "Ma'am, I'm not really sure. I think they're around the corner or something." Next thing I know, I'm hearing that I got requested to go work on a certain floor, and I was like, "Okay, it doesn't matter to me." And one of the first questions she asked me there is, "What do you want to do in the Army?" And I was like, "Well, I want to go to the IC course so I can go to CRNA school." And she said, "Well, I'm leaving in a couple of months, but I want you to go ahead and do your packet and just hand it to me. And I'll tell you when you're ready to go." And it was like, okay. So true to her word, before she PCS'd, she walked up, she said, "Brown, I turned in your packet. You should begin your school date soon." After that, PCS to Fort Sam, to BAMC. I did the critical care course down there. And then I was stationed on 3 South in the cardiac ICU. I loved my family and my friends down there. I had, one of the greatest experiences taking open heart patients. One of my other buddies, he was at Fort Polk at the time. He was deploying, and he said, "Hey, one of the nurses from BAMC can't go. See if you can take their place." So I went and talked to all the people, all the leadership, and everybody was on board. And then it got to one person, and they were like, "No, I already got somebody else in mind." And I was like, "Okay, no problem." Then she asked, "Well, can you pass flight physical?" Like, "Sure, yeah." She was like, "Well, get your flight physical. You'll be deploying in December." And this was in, say, like April or May. I'm like, "Okay, cool." Did my flight physical. Did some training with Fort Carson on the UH-60 Blackhawks. Went to Joint En Route Care Course in Fort Rucker, Alabama in December. I was doing flight nursing in Afghanistan. That was one of the most fun, most scariest, most intense roller coaster rides of my life for 10 months. I really enjoyed it. I feared for my life at times, but the people that I was out there with, they got me through it. And on my way back, I called up to branch and was like, "Hey, I want to apply for CRNA school." And they said, "No, you need a PCS move." And I was like, "Well, I want to go to CRNA school." And they're like, "Well, you need a PCS, so I really think that you'll be good at recruiting." I was like, "Recruiting? Nah, it's not for me." They're like, "I think you'll be great at recruiting. Go ahead, put your packet in." Put my packet in. Got selected for recruiting. Went to Overland, Kansas. Another place I've never been in my life, but I loved it out there. I had so much fun. The people I worked with, Heather Pippin, Chad Augustin, Justin Talotu, they're all still family. I still talk to them, as often as I can with my busy schedule. And after my 2 years were up, I applied for USAGPAN. I got accepted to USAGPAN. And then I got an email that said, "Hey, we need 3 volunteers to go to Uniformed Services University." And I was driving home from a recruiting event in St. Louis back to Overland Park, which is about 3.5 hours. So I saw the email on my phone. I was like, I'll check when I get back. So the next day, called and was like, "Hey, are you still requiring volunteers?" She was like, "Well, sir, we sent it to the wrong Andre Brown, so you don't have a choice now. You have to apply for USU." I was like, "Okay, what's the application deadline?" She was like, "On the 23rd. I was like, 23rd? You mean Wednesday?" This was on a Friday. She was like, "Yeah, Wednesday." So I had to jump through hoops, get all the stuff, write a paper, get new letters of recommendation from everybody that did my letters. And luckily I was accepted. Where was it May of 2019? That's when I started CRNA school, phase 1, Bethesda, Maryland, Uniformed Services University, and now I'm in phase 2 at Fort Belvoir, doing OJT. Been in the OR all week, and today is my what do we call it? Protected academic time. So they can't really mess with me. But I was at the hospital this morning starting IVs and stuff.
So what you're telling us is that you're supposed to be studying right now.
Yeah, I was supposed to be studying all the time.
Ironically, I was, you said you're at Belvoir right now, right?
Yes.
Wow, I was there this morning to get my second COVID vaccine from Pfizer. So, man, that's
I
pretty awesome.
saw you in that line of all the cars out there.
Yeah, you probably, hey, small medical world is what I've always remembered to be. I'm a former 70 Bravo myself, former combat medic myself as well. I was a 91 whiskey, they called it then. But yeah, I want to say, just a really marvelous kind of history that you had there, where it's kind of like a circumstance of luck, but typically those who prepare themselves always seem to have the most luck. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think a lot of my career has been right place at the right time, just hearing the
Hmm.
right thing and, just speaking up.
Gotcha. So Holly, do you have any questions you want to ask him?
Absolutely. Okay, so there's several things that you kind of mentioned that I want to dig into a little bit more. But one of the things that really sticks out about your story is that, you really jumped on every educational opportunity, every training opportunity, and every deployment opportunity that came your way. And, you said that you have had a lot of luck and been in the right place at the right time, but you had to take action to actually, for those things to happen. So what is the driving force behind, you just wanting to continue your education and growing as a professional?
The driving force is I just want to make myself better. There's sometimes you learn things or you see things that happen and you're just like, man, I wonder how that works. And, I want to make a better life for my kids. I want to show them that they can do anything. I'll be 42 next year, and there's not. I'm the oldest person in my class, and there's not a lot of people around my age in my class. They call it a younger person's game, but just to show everybody that I can do it too.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that that's really commendable. And, I think that a lot of times society and, even the Army, we place age limits or, just mental age limits where we say, oh, I'm too old or, but you are proving that that is not the case, my friend. So that's really awesome.
There's plenty of days I've thought it like, I'm too old for this. Why do I put up with getting questioned all day, every day?
Yeah. I understand that. I definitely understand that. Yep.
I just quit and then I come back the next day and do it all over again.
1% better every day.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Let me ask, who has stood out in your military career as a mentor of yours that really kind of put you in the right place or gave you the best advice that you needed at that time? Can you think of some of those people?
First person comes to mind, Colonel Colleen Reed. She was my advisor when I went through the critical care course. And, she was always just pushing me to do better. She was like, Andre, every test that we take, you always get B's. You might get like an 89 or something like that, but you can never get an A. What's going on? It's like, I don't know, I'm just trying to do the best I can. She's like, I want you to get 1A. And she asked me what I want to do. And I told her I wanted to go to CRNA school. And she was like, I don't know, you just keep getting B's. And I was like, you know what? All right, don't worry about it. I get an A before I leave here. And we had our first oral board. And after I finished the oral board, she looked at me. She was like, yeah, you'll be a great CRNA. And ever since then, she's been somebody, if I haven't talked to her in months, I can always just reach out to her. She's one of the people when I had to apply for USU and I was trying to get in contact with all the people that had done my previous recommendations. I called her and she jumped on. She was like, yeah, I'll go ahead and do your recommendation. Just send me what you need.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Excellent. Let me ask, actually, let's kind of segue a little bit into some of the viewers that's actually checking out our discussion today. Let's bring up some of the comments that we see. The inspiration is out there already. So let's go ahead and post some of these comments. We've got one here from Miss Virginia Bailey. I don't know if any one of y'all know her. She said, hey, y'all, miss you. Keep doing great things. That I'll tell you what, more than anything, the stories, the interviews that we've had the past couple of days, people have been tremendously inspired by some of these outstanding officers that I've had the honor to interview. So thank you very much for your comment, Ms. Bailey.
Major Bailey is one of my battle buddies from recruiting, 5th Medical Recruiting Battalion.
Excellent. Hey, shout out to recruiting, Army recruiting, period. We've got a good question here from Mr. Jordan Stewart. The question is, what's the college requirements for PA? I don't know if either one of you could answer that question.
So for the IPAP program, which is the Army or the Inter-Service,
Decisions.
yeah. I'm laughing, and you know why.
Inter-Service Physicians Assistant Program.
Right. So I still have my Christmas tree up, and he keeps I thought it was out of the frame, guys. Okay.
You got it.
So, anyways, that program is specifically for people that are already currently serving in the military in some capacity, and they go to this program, and those requirements are all available online. It is very competitive. We talk about the Army Enlisted Commissioning Program for nursing being competitive, but IPAP program is even more competitive than that because you have all branches of service that are competing for this program. If you're not currently serving, then you would have to attend a PA program on the outside and then potentially try and join as a PA after that. And if you have more specific questions than that kind of just general overview, feel free to reach out and I can help you out further.
Excellent. Thank you, Holly.
Sorry,
I didn't see the Christmas tree. That's a running gaffe joke that we've got going on.
I'll take it down sometime.
You don't have to. You don't have to. Keep that Christmas tree up. The next question we're going to ask, let's see. We've got one here, I think from Jordan again. And the question is, what's your opinion on combat paramedic course versus the flight medic program? Either one of you
I'll let Captain Brown take this.
Go ahead, Captain Brown.
They're both great courses. And actually, flight medics are now all being certified as paramedics. So if you want to do more than just paramedic, I would say go to the flight medic program. Combat paramedics, they do a great job out there, out in the field, on the ground. Flight paramedics, they do the same thing. They come and pick up patients from the paramedics on the ground and get them in the air. So they're both great programs. One is they just fly, and the other one they don't.
All right, straight to the point. Thank you very much for that response, sir. I think, because there's some other comments here, and we don't really know who the individuals are, but we'll still go ahead and post them up. This one here, it looks like they're tagging someone called Herman Clifford Lockhart II. Check this thing that we've got going on. And then the next one is, thank you. The kind of example I will share with my son and nephews. Thank you. Such an inspiration. I think I'd like to ask a question based off of this comment. Have you had, either one of you, a family member who may have been inspired by your choice to join the military? Or, can you talk to us, expand a little bit on that, either one of you?
Captain Brown, take it.
I'm going to say all my family members were inspired to join the military because my mom joined, I think she was in the reserves when I was a kid, but I didn't really know anything about that. Then I joined the Army after I graduated high school. Then my older brother joined the Army 6 months after I did, and he's still in the reserves out in Hawaii. And my younger brother, he joined the Navy following after his father. And one of my younger sisters, she also did the reserves also. So I like to think I inspired them.
Wow, excellent. What about you, Holly?
Well, I was inspired myself to join after, kind of hearing some stories from my grandpa, and then just my grandpa being my personal hero and wanting to be more like him and emulate him. So that is why I joined. And then I've had friends and colleagues, that have just been, that I've went to nursing school with, friends that I've grown up with that have just been really kind of interested and have checked it out because they've seen all the different things that I've done and, are just amazed at all the opportunities that, are within Army medicine, that are within Army nursing. And, Captain Brown was talking about, being older in the CRNA class, but he is still very young. And just all the amazing things that he's done over the past 23 years, that is like several lifetimes of different nursing opportunities that, he has done. So I think that is it's going to inspire all the people you're around. My children aren't old enough yet to, for me to be inspiring them to necessarily say they want to join. But I know that they are proud of me, especially my almost 3 and almost 5-year-old, because they brag on me to their teachers and they want to grow up being like me. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Excellent. So I guess my own personal story, who did I inspire? I don't know. I think I was the first person in my family to join the military, period. But I was personally inspired because of 9/11. I was a college student at the College of Staten Island, and I woke up late that morning on September 11th in 2001, and I missed the ferry. Thank goodness I woke up late, because if I was down there, it could have been disastrous. And I said, okay, I want to be able to join the military and serve in any sort of way to help medically treat folks who may need the help moving forward. And that was my inspiration to join the military back then. I kind of dated myself when I said 2001, but at least I'm not as old as Captain Brown, so it's all good.
Yeah,
It is
I was
all
already in the
good.
military, already deployed.
There you go. There you go. So let's go ahead, Holly.
No, I was just going to say, technically I'm a millennial, but
Hey,
I think I'm a senior millennial. I don't even know.
It's all good. You are a great millennial with the Christmas tree still up. So that's all that matters, right? I'm just teasing. Okay, so let's go into some more of these comments that we see here. Let's see. We've got one from Tia Love. And she says, hey, Captain Brown, we went to Bolic together, and there were so many awesome officers that were prior enlisted, and you were one of them. You're doing great, awesome things. Way to go. See, these are the encouraging messages that really kind of lets me or that, hey, I'm making the right choice to continue doing this career field. What things have you all run into? Like, sometimes people may have those everyday comments from a total stranger saying, thank you for your service, or you may see something that's like, man, I did really make the right choice to stay within the service. Or even so, yesterday, I remember that question in Pride in the Patch. What was that prideful thing in your military service that really concreted, I made the right choice to be where I'm at? Either one of you.
I say I get every day doing anesthesia in the OR. Take a patient I had yesterday, took her back for a procedure. She was very nervous, and I told her, she's going to be fine. And I sat out there with her for about 15 minutes before we went back to the OR. Told her, I was going to be right there for her the whole time. It's my whole job to monitor and make sure that she's okay while the surgeons do their job safely. And I let her know, just drift off, have a nice dream. When you wake up, I'll be the first voice you hear. I'll be right there talking to you, guiding you back, and make sure that everything's okay. And, that relaxed her a lot. And this morning I went to go do my post-op, and I went to go talk to her. And, she remembered, my first name when I walked in. She was like, hey, Andre, how you doing? I'm like, I'm great. I'm came to see how you're doing. She's like, I'm doing just great. I'm happy that you did my anesthesia for me. I'm not in any pain. I did walking already and stuff. I just thank you. And, every time it humbles me when I hear a patient say that. That just lets me know that I'm doing a good job of what I'm doing.
Excellent. What about you, Holly? What gives you the pride in the patch that you have?
Honestly, my brain is flooded right now of different examples and different things that I can think of why I have pride in the patch. I will share two. So in my current job as recruiting, and I'm sure Captain Brown can relate, I have pride in the patch because I am able to share the Army medicine story. And then I'm also able to help, medical professionals out there become Army medicine professionals and help them in their journey to service. So that is truly, it's a very long and tedious process, and, it's a team effort. I wouldn't be able to do all of the recruiting duties and the live streams and juggle everything else without an amazing team at the Kansas City Medical Recruiting Station. Special shout out to Sergeant Jones and Major Stouffer for all of their help and support. It is truly a team effort to get an applicant across the finish line. But that is something that's just so profound, that you have the honor to be in that applicant's first chapter of their Army story, as they start, a potential, 3 to 20-year career and beyond. And then after they are in the service, they continue to reach out and let you know, how they're doing and how things are going, and we'll reach back and ask for your mentorship and ask questions. And that's just, you build those relationships and friendships, and that's truly special. So I think in my current job, that's why I have pride in the pouch.
Thank you very much, so much so, for sharing that, these answers. I really appreciate that. So we've got some more comments coming in, and this looks like a potential comment here that you can help out definitely right here. Let's go ahead and post it. And it is coming from Mr. Christopher Lesko. He said, I'm a 47-year-old CRNA, and I've been seriously considering becoming a 66 Foxtrot reservist. There are many hoops to jump through. Can you make any suggestions? Ooh, Holly, I see your eyes open like, ooh.
Well, hey there. So basically, I would need to know, the obvious one would be your age, but I would need you to reach out and just kind of tell me, like, have you already talked to an Army recruiter? Are you in the process? Do you have medical issues, that kind of thing? So I would just kind of need to know a little bit more of the picture. Your age potentially could be a challenge, but that is something that we can look into and check out. And then we also have to look at the mission to see what our CRNA mission is for the reserves right now. And I don't have it in front of me, but we have to see if there are any slots available as well. But please reach out. Please reach out, and we'll see what we can do. And I hopefully can point you in the right direction for sure.
Captain Brown, I heard you were saying something there. What was
Yeah,
your
I was
point?
saying there's always room for CRNAs. Come on over, brother. Come on over.
Man, okay, exactly. Hey, we need you, man. I mean, look, if you're a medical professional, you got the skills. There's always a means to a way of getting you into joining our ranks. So, awesome question. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Lesko. Let's see. We've got some more comments coming in. One here from another Facebook user saying, what a great story and an inspiration to many. Hello, Captain Brown. We got Mario Andretti saying, Holly, do you know who Mario Andretti is, Holly?
I don't believe so.
Okay, he said hello from Germany. I don't know.
Hello.
Hello.
Happy you're here.
Hey, guten Tag, out there in Germany. We've got one here from on YouTube. The comment is, my father was a 23-year Army aviator. Grew up in an Army kit. Grandpa is buried at West Point, and my military roots run very deep. I know he's inspired my desire for this opportunity, just not as vocal. Well, thank you for sharing information there. And Mario Andretti is Captain Vergara. I don't know.
Okay. What's up, buddy? I know who it is now. Okay.
All right. Gotcha.
I mean, yeah, there was no way I was going to know from the other.
from the driver name.
Thank you for joining, and hopefully we can catch up soon. It's been a long time.
Excellent. So we've got one here again from Mr. Jordan Stewart, and he asks, I really don't hear anything about European rotations. What was Kosovo like? Ooh, let's sit along the fire and hear this story. Go ahead, Captain Brown.
Kosovo was fun. I had a great time out there. Just, you're working with NATO, so we worked with the Italians, with the Germans, Georgians, and everybody you can think of out there. And we would all get together. We do medical civilian assistant programs called MedCaps. And we just, they pick a village that we'd go to, drop off some flyers, let them know that we were going to come through and give out free care as much as we could. We drive way out into the mountains on, one-lane roads where you have to watch out for the cows. Get up there, and the people will be so happy to see us, and they so welcoming, inviting us into their homes. Everybody wants to talk to us through the interpreters, and we just helped out as many people as we could. And you know, we do the same thing the next week. We try to get out as much as we could, but Kosovo, it was fun.
Awesome.
Got to meet a lot of
Awesome.
people out there.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that information, sir. You know, I do know, I guess I want to try to kind of pivot into some more pointed questions, especially with the closing, almost the end of Black History Month, this being February. And I know myself and Captain Weaver got a couple questions for you. And if you could be as candid as you possibly can, we really appreciate it. The viewers, I'm sure, will appreciate it as well. And Captain Weaver, you want to go ahead and start with it?
Absolutely. So the first question I have, I've actually asked to multiple people, as you know, we have gone through Black History Month, and this is our fourth and final feature for Black History Month, and we are so glad that, you know, I feel like we're ending on a high note with your amazing story, so thank you. But over the last year, Army senior leaders have really put a special emphasis or an increased emphasis on increasing diversity and inclusion, you know, things like taking the DA photo off of promotion boards and updating hair and grooming standards to become more inclusive. But what can we as leaders on the ground do to be more supportive of our soldiers and to be more inclusive in the future?
The main thing that we can do is listen. Soldiers have been talking forever, and people just haven't been listening to what they're saying. Most of the changes, you know, like have been in 23 years, most of the changes aren't new for soldiers asking for them. They've been asking for them for 10, 15 years. So when we finally sit down and we listen to what they're saying, we think about what they're saying, a lot of times it makes sense. And when you listen to what other people are saying in different perspectives, then you can find the best way forward.
I hear what you're saying. I hear you say, okay, so you need to listen to the soldiers, but listen and actually using the information that you're being told are two different things. Won't you agree?
Oh, yeah,
So,
definitely.
so what kind of active action can be taken by those who are speaking and communicating with soldiers on their left and right? What are those actions that could be taken?
Most actions, the best action you can take is taking action. Um, just now, you have junior officer leadership councils, diversity councils. You know, they're implementing all kinds of things Army-wide. I get at least 4 or 5 asking me if I can participate in different councils, and participation in action, that's what leads to things getting done.
Thank you very much for that response, sir. So let me ask, in your, 20 plus years that you've been in the service, correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so in your 20 plus years, I'm sure you've experienced many highs and many lows. As a man of color, I've experienced it myself, and I'm not saying that this is something that's unique to me. This is something that I'm sure that a lot of other soldiers of color may have experienced, you know, whether it be implicit or explicit. What are some, I guess, explicit things that you may have experienced? And you don't have to go into specifics as far as this is exactly what happened to me, but what are some of the lessons that you may have learned from explicit things that has happened to you in your 20 plus year career? And what lessons did you learn from it?
The best lesson I've learned is never judge a book by its cover. That person that you may think, you know, is your buddy and they're there for you and they want you to succeed, they may be the exact person that's kind of holding you back from moving forward. And it may be that person that you to have no idea that they're in your corner is the one that's actually pushing for you to move forward.
Okay, I got you. I got you. Holly, do you want to go ahead and ask the question?
I think so. You're kind of stealing the words right out of my mouth, Otis. Thank you for for asking what you've asked. But you know, I just think I agree with what Captain Brown is saying. And as far as the listing piece, that's the first step in the right direction, I think. Just as a leader in general with any issues, you have to have your ear to the ground and actually be paying attention to what your soldiers are saying. Because I think that sometimes, you know, our soldiers might not necessarily tell us, but they'll tell our friends. And so there's a way to find out if, through the grapevine or, through our first sergeants and our NCOs, because our soldiers are going to be they're going to be more comfortable in their friend group, in their peer group versus, they might not feel as comfortable coming and telling a captain or an officer that they're having a problem or an issue. But if there's things going on and issues, they're telling someone. It just might not be us. So we have to make sure that we're just open about that. And then, you're right. Nothing can change, and we can't actually be supportive if we don't take action on the information. So I think that Captain Brown is really hitting the nail on the head of, we just have to be open. We have to listen, and then we need to act upon the knowledge and the information that we're receiving to be the most supportive that we can be.
Okay. I agree with it. Something that kind of was an epiphany to me, and it was something that inspired me to seek out Sergeant Major of the Army and Chief of Staff of the Army when I had those interviews with them. I remember personal courage being one of those leadership tenets that was hammered into me since basic training to the last day I wore the uniform. And the thing that bothered me when I thought about it was, we're teaching personal courage in every military aspect of our lives, but many people didn't have the personal courage to ask the tough questions. So that's the reason why it's wonderful that we're having these moments of, they say it's like a come to Jesus moment where we're having these racial recognition moments. That's wonderful. But this is something that shouldn't have been even going on in the first place, right? So I just want to commend the steps that are being taken right now and make it normal. We shouldn't have a discussion based on race. It shouldn't be that sort of thing. We should just be living a life where everyone is treated equally as such. So I commend the Army going and moving forward and leading the way further than what society in general typically goes at. But I don't want to get too deep into things. Let me calm myself down and kind of bring it back to our discussion that we're having today, and especially with yourself being a man of color who is you're basically being an anesthesiologist?
Nurse anesthetist.
Or nurse anesthetist? I've never seen a black nurse anesthetist before. Let's be upfront. I've never seen a black male nurse anesthetist before. So you're kind of like a unicorn. How do you go about with that sort of recognition when you kind of think about it? How do you go about with that?
I really don't think about it. I just, I'm learning to do a job, and I'm trying to be the best that I can. There is another male African-American CRNA at my hospital. But yeah, I try not to think about it. I try and think of everybody as the same and just keep moving forward.
I like that. That's wonderful. Holly, do you have another question?
No, I was just going to say, there's my tree again. No, actually, when I was advertising for this live stream, I believe it was one of Captain Brown's friends or colleagues or something like that actually put a comment on one of the posts that I made and said that African American male CRNAs, it's like less than 2% of the total CRNAs. And I didn't Google it to see if that was accurate, but I'm assuming that that's pretty close to spot on because, it's just very rare. So, Captain Brown says it's no big deal, but it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. It's amazing.
It's an absolute huge deal.
I think that that should be a moment in itself that, we commend you for that. And, one thing that you had mentioned earlier that I just want to take a moment to really kind of drive home because it really spoke to me. And, the example I want to set for my children is you talked about your driving force of wanting to make yourself better because you want to make life better for your kids and you want to show them that you can always do better. You're not only showing your kids that you can do better and you can achieve whatever you put your mind to, but you're showing all of Army medicine and everyone that's tuning in that it's possible. You can go from a private, an E1, with a high school education all the way to, here in the near future, having a doctorate degree and practicing anesthesia. So, and funded by the Army, because you have maximized all of your opportunities, training and educational. So you have said yes, and you are inspiring others to follow, and to make those choices that are going to set them up, educationally and in those better career paths. I know that you're inspiring me, just sitting here. So I know you're inspiring others out there.
I think I want to add one quick thing to my earlier point. I think I want to make the world needs more Captain Andre Browns. We want to normalize. You get what I'm saying? I want to make this a normal thing. I want to, when we see a Captain Andre Brown or a Captain ABC or XYZ, and they just happen to be a man or a woman of color or whatever, that it's a normal thing. It's not a unicorn thing. And that sort of mindset, I think, should transcend generally in Army medicine. I think that's a wonderful thing. It's a great thing. Yes, you're not necessarily a trailblazer, but you're an example and a role model that a lot of other young men and women who may be looking up for someone who look like them when they are moving forward in their military career. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, I just try and do the best I can. I try and mentor young soldiers. Actually, at Belvoir, there are two Army medics, and both of them are interested in the AECP. I told them I'll help them, with whatever they need. I actually still have my packet that I had to hand write out back in 2009 and mail to Fort Knox. I still have the whole thing.
Excellent.
And your I Love Me book, right?
Yeah.
No, this one, it's in the safe.
Oh, wow.
Excellent. Hey, I've even seen, we've got more comments, and I want to encourage all the viewers, hey, send in your comments, your questions of Captain Brown or Captain Holly Weaver or myself. Send in those comments, those questions, and we'll feature them, like the two that we're about to feature now. And it's coming in from Mr. Andrew Ingalls, and it says, not only that, but I personally feel as though in the nursing field and CRNA field, men are rare, especially African Americans. I know in my nursing career, I've worked with 3, needs to change. So even as someone who was a former nursing student at his HBCU, Lincoln University of Missouri, I know that it was very rare to see anyone that looked like me. So we're not saying, we're going to put this stress on you, Captain Brown. We're saying you are to be celebrated because you are someone who's a fine example of what others want to be.
Absolutely.
You could say something,
Yeah.
Captain Brown.
No, I'm just thinking back, and at each one of my places, all the male nurses, African American males, we all knew each other because it really wasn't that many. I was just thinking back to it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Typically, when you're making history or when you're kicking tail in your career, you don't really stop and slow down to think of, man, I am kicking tail in my career. You just kind of, the example I think that you're setting is watch me work and watch the other people just see me as that example. And that's something that's admirable. So big shout out to you. Absolutely.
I tell everybody, I'm just trying to make it to the next day. That's it.
Excellent. Go ahead, Holly, if you have another question.
So, we're kind of nearing the end of our discussion, but one of the most, the things that I'm really looking forward to just hearing a little bit more about is your time as a flight nurse. And I just want you to kind of reflect back and maybe a moment or a story that you can think of that sticks out in your mind that you could share with us and the viewers on your time as a flight nurse that, is just memorable and might inspire someone to, want to be, to fly.
So one of my first missions when I got to Afghanistan, getting to a new unit that's already established, the whole unit deployed together, and we were called ECCNs, en route critical care nurses. Me and my partner, Major Burrows, we get out to Afghanistan, and a lot of the flight medics, they weren't happy to see us, and like, oh, these nurses are trying to take our jobs, and we don't need them. And, for us, it was like, hey, we're just here to help. We're here to help with critical care transports. That's our primary job. If we just happen to get to a point of injury, things, we're stay on the helicopter so they can do their thing, send the patients back to us, and we keep them stable as we go along. But one of my first missions, I think it was December 21st to 22nd, 2015, we got a medevac call for a mass casualty. There was an Air Force patrol. There was a guy on a motorcycle, vehicle-borne IED, exploded right in the middle of their formation. So, we hear that medevac call, we run to the helicopter. We don't even know what's going on yet until we get in the helicopter and we get out there. And as soon as we land, flight medic jumps out. He starts triaging patients. He's sending them back. I'm getting them in the helicopter. I'm putting the ones on monitors and need to be on monitors. And, we're just working. He's calling back to me. I'm calling to him. We're talking through. We get in the helicopter. We got the patient situated. We get back in the air. We get back to Bagram, to the roll 3. We saved most of them, unfortunately. There was, I think, one that didn't make it in the helicopter, but we got most of them back. And afterwards, when we were doing our AAR, the flight medic, he walked up to me and he was like, sir, I'm really happy that you were there because that was a lot and I wouldn't have been able to do it all without you. And from then on, the perception from the flight medics, I'm sad that it had to take something like that to happen for their perception to change. But it did change, and they were always, wanted us on the helicopters with them, no matter where they were going. And it also turned out that, the Air Force soldiers, they weren't even the ones that called in the 9-line. It was the Georgian soldiers that we had actually did 9-line training with the day before that called in the 9-line with a very quick response. So I think the ID happened within, they went to investigate. They saw what happened within 10 minutes. They called the 9-line up, and less than 2 minutes, we were already in the air, and about 3 minutes to get there. And, that was the one that really sticks out in my mind.
That story, I mean, just the amount of detail that you shared with us really painted a picture in my mind, and I'm sure everyone that's watching mind of what happened. And it's hard to imagine the adrenaline and your heart racing and your mind just going 100 miles a minute with everything that you have to be doing in that sort of scenario. People's lives are in the balance, and you're doing everything you can to help save them. So thank you so much for sharing that very raw and real story, because that was pretty powerful and definitely very inspiring. I'm just kind of blown away right now, to be honest with you.
Definitely, Captain Brown. That hell of a recall, and it's something that it gives a very raw and real image of what Army medicine really is. I mean, we are at war, and we are providing that medical care that's needed by our warfighters. So we appreciate you recalling back that story. Very powerful and very, very gripping as well. We've got some more comments coming on, and we're almost to the close of our discussion today. So more than anything, let's go ahead and jump into some of these comments. So we've got one here from Mr. Andrew Ingalls again. And did I post this one already?
Yeah, that one.
I think I did. My bad. So we've got one here from recruiter Marlon Johnson. I know Mr. Marlon Johnson. He's out there at 6MRB. He says, as a former Army OR tech for 12 years, I've only worked with 2. We need more representation in the 66 Foxtrot fields. I agree. I fully agree. So we'll go into the next one. From Jordan Stewart, he says again, thank you for being an inspiration, Captain Brown. Your story is cool. And Mr. Ingalls, he says, one of the biggest drivers has always been, what does your work ethic look like when no one else is watching? It's easy to impress when the lights are on, but when are they not? Well, what about when they aren't? How will you compose yourself? I think as two military officers, I think you both can probably speak about what your work ethic and how has it helped you in your military careers. You want to each one want to talk about that?
You really just have to be self-disciplined and motivated, honestly. And motivation kind of comes and goes, but when the motivation is not there, you still have to get after it, and you have to do what you have to do, no matter what task is in front of you, what job you're in. Whether you're a nurse or you're working as a recruiter in the Army, out of the Army, it all comes down to the accountability and time management, and pushing forward every day. How am I going to be better than I was yesterday? How am I going to, be a team player, or help someone else out, or uplift someone today? Those are kind of the things that you just have to consider and just keep pushing, and, you're going to do it.
Excellent. What about you, Captain Brown?
I'm still thinking about my story.
I know, man. I know. Take your time, man. Take your time.
One thing that motivates me is just the love of your job. If you like what you're doing, you're going to be more motivated to keep on going, to go that extra mile. I know for me, when people are like, "Oh, you're in CRNA school? Oh yeah, you're trying to make a lot of money, right?" I'm like, actually, no. When I retired from the Army in about 6.5 years, at 30, it's not going to make a difference what my Army retirement paycheck looks like. It's going to be the same regardless. So, it's not really about the money. This is just something that I want to do, something I like to do. So I keep pushing. Even, sometimes I have bad days in the OR, and it's, okay, I had a bad day today. The next day it'd be better. Just stay in the books, keep studying, get better, keep improving. And I hear it all the time. People are like, yeah, you're getting a lot better at this. You're getting a lot better at this. At some point in time, I'm going to be good enough to just be in the OR by myself. And that's the goal.
Excellent. 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 Thank you for sharing that point, both of you. And let's go into like the final comment. And I think this is a good comment here coming again from Srna Johnson. He says, I love to use him as an SME to speak to some of my African-American prospects. What do you think about that opportunity there, Captain Brown?
Hey, just reach out. People call me all the time. I had a old battle buddy from when I was a platoon sergeant text me today. He said they had some people wants to do physical therapy, and the other one wants to do psychiatry. So I just kind of pointed them in the right direction.
All right, excellent. Thank you there for that, there, Srna Brown, and I mean Captain Brown and Srna Johnson. Ooh, I caught myself. So I think it has been a very good past hour, just talking and hearing, your stories about things that you've endured, your motivation. I think there's a lot of interesting motivational stuff there that a lot of people could pick up from you. I think it's very admirable. I'm going to lay on the compliments and give you the props all you want, but you kind of got it in yourself already. Like, hey, I know I've got this, and I know I'm doing whatever I need to do. And I hope that this sort of personality trait is something that others can find some, motivation and maybe some inspiration from. But more than anything, I want to say thank you, Captain Brown, for coming and just talking with myself and Holly on this latest episode of my Army Medicine Story. What about you, Holly?
Oh, go ahead, Captain Brown.
Go ahead, Captain.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Holly, for reaching out and asking me if I wanted to do this. I've enjoyed myself.
Absolutely. I'm so honored to call you a friend and former colleague. When I reached out to you in 2018 to say, hey, I might be coming to recruiting. Is it okay if I come work, in shadow and kind of see what it's about before I write, my statement of motivation to apply for that job? He welcomed me with open arms and, helped answer all my questions. He let me go to an event with him and just kind of tag along. And, he was great. It was awesome. And then, on top of that, him and Major Augustin came to my change of command when I was leaving command, before I even came into recruiting. So if, that's not you know, a battle buddy, I don't know what is, because you know, I know that I can reach out and ask questions or hit Captain Brown up, and he's got my back. And I just want to, you know, kind of in closing say that you have, I think you truly embody, you know, what humility is. And you're so humble because, you know, I mean, we've been saying it all hour, but you truly are an inspiration to so many because you have just achieved every milestone and keep pushing. And you are just like, oh, it's not a big deal. You know, I'm just trying my best. And, you know, and you're playing it down, but that's just because that's who you are. And that's because you're so humble. And I just, you know, that is such a phenomenal character trait, that you have such humility and are so grounded. And it has been an awesome hour with you. And the story you shared about flight nursing is not going to be one that I'm going to forget. And thank you again for being vulnerable and sharing that with us in the audience.
That's my pleasure.
Absolutely. So I guess we hang out in the broadcast room. We're going to talk a little bit more. But thank you again for being there with us. Let me post these last bit of comments I see coming in the timeline. One from Mr. Christopher Lesko. Captain Brown, your path to CRNA school is remarkable. You'll be fine. You'll be a fine CRNA. Study hard. And thank you for sharing. Great job. Thank you very much, Ms. Dodd and Mr. Lesko. So hang out in the broadcast room. I'll go ahead and close up our show. Thanks again.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
And so we had the great opportunity to talk to Captain Andre Brown. That was absolutely inspirational. If you're looking for an opportunity to join us in Army medicine and be that medical professional within our ranks, check out the information right there in the bottom. You see Captain Holly Weaver's point of contact. You can reach out to her and contact her, and you can also reach out to me on Facebook under my name, Otis Toussaint, and I will point you in the right direction that you need to go. And as we always say in closing, take care of yourself, and Army medicine is Army strong. Bye now.